Welcome everybody to the GCW Live episode 1 full show report. So what we're going to report here today is how GCW Live episode 1 went. Show started off with Randy Orton making his big announcement on why he decided to return to GCW. And Randy Orton noted that when he left GCW back 3 years ago, he wanted to make room for new talent to headline shows and everything. And he says that pretty much has happened, only that the point is that the main event was pretty much only decided between two people. It's been AJ Styles, it's been Kenny Omega, and Randy Orton got sick of it and decided to put an end to it, come back. He is now challenging for the GCW Championship. He made this deal with owner Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon offered him a championship match if he returns to the company, and Randy Orton accepted that. Randy Orton did accept because he just couldn't stand seeing Kenny Omega main event show after show after show anymore. He wants to beat Omega's undefeated streak and take the GCW title off him. But then Orton got interrupted by our new Mr. Money in the Bank, Chris Jericho. Jericho noted that he agrees with what Orton has to say, but Jericho has been here for the past 3 years while Randy Orton was gone. And Chris Jericho now finally has the Money in the Bank briefcase in his hands. And if anybody is going to end Kenny Omega's streak and title reign, it's going to be him with this Money in the Bank briefcase. And even if Orton has a chance to win the GCW Championship from Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho promised him that he will be there with a Judas effect to take the belt off Orton. Then next off, we had a triple threat match, and we determined the number one contender for the Intercontinental Championship in this match. We have AJ Styles, who is now out of the GCW title picture. We have Dolph Ziggler, who lost to The Undertaker. And we have the American Nightmare Cody, who was unsuccessful in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Now, these three men got a second chance. GCW management did decide to give these three men another chance after GCW WrestleMania, and the winner would become a number one contender for the Intercontinental Championship and face Tetsuya Naito at Judgment Day. And Cody went after AJ Styles. There are some unsolved issues still between Cody and AJ Styles. They had the match back at GCW Back from the Dead. And then AJ Styles obviously eliminated Cody from the Rumble. The finish saw AJ Styles hitting the phenomenal form on Cody. Cody was able to roll out of the ring, and Ziggler scored a roll-up pin on AJ Styles to become a number one contender for the Intercontinental Championship. But then Cody got back into the ring, took AJ Styles. He had set up a table on the outside and threw AJ to the outside via powerbomb, just like what AJ Styles did to him at the Royal Rumble. And GCW management made it official that set for Judgment Day, it will be AJ Styles against Cody in a tables match. Then we cut to a backstage segment, and we saw Vince McMahon shaking hands with Finn Balor, who's now officially signed to GCW. Not only that, Vince decided to give Finn Balor the main event of this GCW episode against the GCW champion Kenny Omega to possibly make a huge impact on his first official night here in GCW. Balor worked with GCW before, but this was in a working agreement with Frontier Wrestling back in the day that had Balor work a couple of GCW shows, and now Balor is signed to a full-time deal with GCW, so he's part of the company right now, and he's going to face Kenny Omega in the main event. Then moving on, we had a tag team match. We had the Hardys against Suzuki Gun. We actually had this matchup at GCW Back from the Dead in the tag team gauntlet. Suzuki Gun made their debut in GCW. The Hardys made their return. The Hardys won the gauntlet match back in the day, lost their tag team championship opportunity. And this match was hard hitting. Minoru Suzuki went after Matt Hardy pretty hard in the beginning of the match. Then Matt Hardy was able to hit a twist of fate on Suzuki for a near fall. Zack Sabre was able to push Jeff Hardy onto Matt Hardy to break up the pin, and the finish saw Jeff Hardy go for a Swanton bomb, but then Zack Sabre Jr. got up the knees, and Jeff Hardy flew right into a Gotch pile driver by Suzuki. And Suzuki-gun got their payback against the Hardys from Back of the Dead. Now Suzuki-gun victorious against the Hardys, and Matt Hardy seemed very, very upset after the match. Matt Hardy was going crazy after the match, thinking that Jeff cost them another opportunity. And Matt obviously wasn't part of GCW WrestleMania because only Jeff made it into the Money in the Bank ladder match. And there seemed to be a huge problem between the Hardys when suddenly the lights went out and we saw Bray Wyatt sitting in the ring with both GCW Tag Team Championships. He had won the Tag Team Championships with Braun Strowman at GCW WrestleMania 7. Braun Strowman was not there. Braun Strowman did all of the job at GCW WrestleMania 7. Wyatt did not even wrestle in the match, which is very weird, and we're still trying to figure out this relationship between Strowman and Wyatt. And what Wyatt had to say after the match was that he really hates to see a brotherly love fall apart, and he decided, even though they are the losers of this match and they definitely do not deserve it, Bray Wyatt wants to give the Hardy Boys a chance for the GCW Tag Team Championships at Judgment Day, hoping that this will help to resolve their issues. And this was very strange. We have no idea what is going on with Bray Wyatt. This is a very different Bray Wyatt from what we have seen in the past. Bray Wyatt usually just been destroying everything in GCW, and after that loss against Shinsuke Nakamura at the Royal Rumble, Bray Wyatt has been a different person, and now this alliance with Strowman. There's a lot of questions to be answered, and we're going to see how this goes moving forward. Then we had the big hardcore match between Jon Moxley and Evil. That was announced at GCW WrestleMania 7. Evil obviously had thrown Jon Moxley, or back in the day, Dean Ambrose, off the stage at the Royal Rumble. That did cost Jon Moxley WrestleMania. And Moxley came back to attack the Shield, his former Shield partners Rollins and Reigns, after the Intercontinental Championship match at GCW WrestleMania 7. And so Moxley had already decided that he was not going to be part of the Shield anymore. He thinks that Rollins and Reigns do not care about him, and now he's back on his own, but he wanted to get some payback first on Evil, so this is why the whole match was set up. A very hard-hitting match. Evil hit Darkness Falls into the ladder, which was brutal. Then we had Moxley hit the Regal knee onto a trash can that was in Evil's hand. Very brutal there too. Then Evil got this production box into the ring, set up a barbed wire board, and was going to try to end Moxley. Once again, wanted to hit another Darkness Falls through that barbed wire board, which could have been career-threatening for Moxley. But Moxley ended up countering it, hit his suplex slam on Evil. The whole barbed wire board collapsed, and Moxley followed it up with the Death Rider for the pin. Moxley beat Evil, got his revenge here. And after the match, Roman Reigns came and just brutally attacked Dean Ambrose. Seth Rollins was not able to be in the building because he's still getting his neck taken care of after the beating that his neck took in the triple threat match at GCW WrestleMania, but Rollins will be ready for Judgment Day, and we have officially announced that to resolve the Shield issue, we will be having a triple threat match. Jon Moxley, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins will be taking place at Judgment Day. Then we had Will Ospreay come out and have a big announcement for the Cruiserweights after that great Cruiserweight Championship match at GCW WrestleMania 7. The Cruiserweights will have the very first GCW Cruiserweight Classic that is going to be airing before GCW Judgment Day, the first round match as well, and then the semifinals, they will be on GCW Judgment Day, and the final will be on the GCW Live episode after Judgment Day. So that was announced. Ospreay was really happy for that, representing the Cruiserweight division, just having won the Cruiserweight Championship. But then out came the Brian Kendrick, and the Brian Kendrick attacked Will Ospreay and put him into the Captain's Hook submission while staring at the Cruiserweight belt. And we got the news that the first round match for Will Ospreay will be against the Brian Kendrick. So Will Ospreay will also be in the tournament, and in the first round he will be facing off with the Brian Kendrick. And then we got ready for our main event, Finn Balor and Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega came out to a pretty rough reaction. Fans were booing him. Match was really, really good. Balor hit a couple of his offense, then Omega got some back with the big boot, Snapdragon on Balor, but then in the end, Balor was able to hit the corner dropkick on Omega, wanted to follow it up with the coup de grace, but Omega got out of the way, hit the reversed Rana on Balor, hit the one-winged angel for a 3 count in the main event. Kenny Omega beat Finn Balor on his very first night on the job, and then Omega grabbed a microphone and addressed the crowd, and Kenny Omega was very, very upset at the GCW fans. He went on about giving them the best matches they have ever seen in GCW history, and yet they are so ungrateful. They don't seem to respect him as the GCW champion anymore, and they complain about him still being the GCW champion. And Kenny Omega said, "How is this my fault? I am the best wrestler in the world. Just nobody is there that is able to beat me. I'm undefeated in GCW." And then out of nowhere came Randy Orton from the back, hit an RKO on Omega, and Omega laid out on the mat. Orton stared at the GCW Championship, Omega out, and this is how the show went off the air. Main event for Judgment Day is going to be Kenny Omega and Randy Orton. What is going to be next for GCW is the Cruiserweight Classic. You will be actually seeing full matches on that, not just a report like for GCW Live episode. If it works time-wise, GCW Live episodes will be full shows, but the pay-per-views will have priority, so we want to get the pay-per-views out first. And if it doesn't work out time-wise, we will just do a report on the GCW Live episodes like we did today. And Cruiserweight Classic is next, first round matches. The announcement for the competitors of the Cruiserweight Championship, Cruiserweight Classic are going to be on the channel very soon. And then we will be going into GCW Judgment Day. You already have heard a lot of the matches confirmed here on this GCW episode, but we will be having another full match cut video out after the Cruiserweight Classic. So that wraps up the GCW full show report for today. We're signing out. Good night, everybody, and have a good one.